This was not even a month ago. I used to be on Tinder all the time for hookups and stuff, but now I don't really do that anymore. It was pretty obvious that most of the guys I matched with were just looking to get inside my pants, but I held out for a little while and eventually matched with a guy who we'll call Rob. Rob was actually promising in the beginning, someone who was both good looking and seemed like a genuinely good person. We texted on the app for a little while but got each other's phone number to make it feel less like a hookup. Initially, Rob seemed like he was on board with everything I wanted. After a few days of texting, he seemed like an alright guy. The only thing I found weird about him at the time was how many selfies of me he asked for. I didn't mind it though, because he seemed happy with what I sent him without trying to convince me to be any more revealing. Of course, I was still hesitant to go on the first date with him, knowing it was from Tinder, but I made sure it was as obvious as possible that I was gonna be a little harder to get than a one-night stand. I told him I wanted to go out to dinner at a nice restaurant and probably wait until at least the third date until we went home together. He said that he was down for that and that he would take care of everything. On the night of the date, everything about Rob seemed perfect and what some would say, too good to be true. He was gentlemanly and respectful, and I had no worries at all about paying for anything the entire night. But as the night progressed, things started to become bizarre. I remember seeing Rob oddly taking an unusual amount of pictures of me. At first, I thought he was just taking it for memories, but then he started becoming excessive with it, like he was literally taking a photo shoot of me. I then kindly asked him to put his phone away and that I didn't want my picture being taken anymore. And that's when I could tell he was completely losing his composure. He suddenly became more rude and began to show his true colors when he began to boss the waitress around. I noticed he wasn't even able to keep steady eye contact with me anymore. He then began to change the subject of the conversation to stuff like kinks and what I enjoyed in the bedroom. I kept telling him I wasn't interested in talking about that yet, but I noticed there was a distinct change in his behavior when he didn't get his way.
So, what did you want to do after the date?
He said.
I guess I'll just head home.
I replied.
Are you sure? I mean, don't you want to, head back to my place?
What? No, absolutely not.
No. I meant head back to my place for dessert. The food here is a little underwhelming.
Okay, what dessert do you have?
I can make vanilla lava cake or a mean banana split topped with coconut pudding or just come over to my place, damn it. I thought this was the point of Tinder.
Despite how weird he was becoming, I stuck around long enough to milk his wallet for all it was worth. The longer things went on though, the more sure I was that there wouldn't be a second date. Rob, on the other hand, got the wrong idea. He thought just because I was spending his money that he was going to get what he wanted. But little did he know that if he had actually been respectful to me the entire time, and not just in the beginning, I might have went home with him. As we left the restaurant, he kept trying to convince me to go home with him, but I was adamant about making him wait. In reality, I really didn't want to see him again, but I let him think that he had another chance. I then ran as far as I could away from him until it was safe enough to call an Uber. I eventually made it home, locked all my doors with the intention of not speaking to him again. Later in the night, just as I was headed for bed, I remember hearing notifications from my phone. It was Rob. He kept texting me even more bizarre messages than before. Now he was begging me for selfies under the context of missing me super badly and needing some of me to hold him over until the next time. I asked him why he couldn't just look at the dozen other selfies I already sent him, and he replied back saying, needed more, which made it pretty clear what he was really asking for. I asked him to give me some space and to respect my boundaries, which set him off on a self-pitying rant about how I was obligated to expose myself to him just because he took me out on a date. At that point, I got fed up and told him to leave me alone or I was going to block him. Instead of listening to me, he called me, so I immediately declined the call and blocked his number, then put my phone on silent and tried to sleep it off. I knew by then that Rob wasn't the good guy I thought he was, and that he was actually just a manipulative man-child at best, or a total psycho at worst. I thought he might get the hint and buzz off after I ghosted him, but he didn't. In the morning, he showed me who he really was. The first thing I saw on my phone was a message from him on Tinder that literally made me nauseous. It was the picture of a homemade doll he made of me. It was the kind of doll crudely put together with a pillow and some towels that were supposed to look like the shape of a woman's body, complete with my Tinder profile picture as the face and silicone lady parts at the bottom. And the icing on the cake was the caption that said,
I spent the night with this version of you. That'll have to do until I can get the real thing.
This story was inspired by a true story regarding a woman who matched on Tinder with a male. The pair had allegedly been texting back and forth, in which the woman exchanged a selfie photo of her face, which can be seen here. But what makes the interaction all the more disturbing was how in the midst of their interaction, the man texted a photo back of a doll made of the woman using an abundance of pillows, paper plates, other various items, and of course, her selfie, which can be seen below.